Hey everybody, so today we are going to talk about how to create a metahuman like the one you're seeing now. If you watched the short that I published a couple weeks ago and on X as well, that short was using an AI solution that would allow me to change my voice. I kind of need that for a personal project, but I decided that for this video, we'd just go ahead and use Metahuman Animator, which is what you're seeing right now. That's also why the other video did look a little bit robotic, mostly because I was using the audio to animation as opposed to using Metahuman Animator, which is always the superior version. Now, what I did here is combine the head movement and the facial animation with an animation from Narrative Motion. That's the animation body animations made by Matt Workman. They are amazing. Not sponsored, but highly recommend. And same thing with this, what we're going to be using for this new metahumans is the metahumans identities from 3D Scan Store. While I'm trying to get this process as simple as possible, and we're going to keep it inside Unreal, this process is of course not free because these metahuman identities are not free, but they are very affordable. So if you're an indie dev or you're trying to make a game, this is an easy way that you can customize the metahuman and not use the stock presets that come with Metahuman Creator, which is what I saw the most on several shows in the past year. A lot of indie games that are using metahumans are also using stock presets, which in my opinion, it doesn't look great. So I'll stop rambling and I'll just show you how you can easily do it. All right, so here's the website where I got the metahuman identities. That's how they call them. And you can get them right here in the Unreal. There is metahuman identities. And there are several of them. There are bundles, and you can just choose individuals if you want, which is what I did. At the recording of this video, they are on 50% discount. Hopefully I posted this video while they were still on discount. However, there are some free ones. If you just want to try it, you can go on the free. All you need is they ask you to create an account, and you can just download a free one. I'm not going to use that one. I'm going to use one of the ones that I have. But by all means, if you want to try this process before committing to purchasing one, just download the free one. It's just the little free one, and go to HD Metahuman Identity. Now, the reason why you want to use these identities as opposed to any other scans that you can get from Textures XYZ or maybe a scan that you can do on your own is the fact that, well, you are provide a good FBX. I'd say it's a very good resolution if you wanted to wrap, but we're not going to do any wrap here. But you are also provided textures that we are going to be using. These textures are AK, and they are already placed in the format of the face of the metahuman, so there isn't any additional work that you have to do. Usually, if you have a scan or a texture from another body that you scanned, what you do is the program that I have for wrapping also can adapt textures to it, but there are some errors that you need to correct in Photoshop, and that takes time. And the purpose of it is to make it as easy as possible for everybody, so you can just jump in, create your characters. All right, so what you're going to do is once you have downloaded your metahuman identity, you're going to go into the Mesh to Metahuman folder, grab your FBX and drop it into Unreal. Click import, and you're going to get everything imported. You don't have to import the texture that comes with it because the FBX already has it in. And you are going to get the mesh here. As you can see, it looks pretty good. Very high res. Of course, it doesn't have any specular or normals because the purpose of this is just so you use Metahuman Creator. Now in here, we're also going to be dropping the textures. So I'm going to go back one, and I'm going to drop all of these. You need all three: albedo, cavity, and normal. Make sure they're in there already. So right click. By the way, you have to activate the Metahuman plugin. I've already have several tutorials on how to do that, so I'm not going to repeat that here. Just go to Metahuman because you already have the plugin activated, and go to Metahuman Identity. And once you are here, if you've used Metahuman, Mesh to Metahuman like way in the past, in the early days of the Metahumans, you probably know how this is done, but for new people that are coming into the engine, and there's kind of a little bit of a new processes here. You're going to go from create from component, from mesh, and I'm going to type M24. There it is. And this is going to load it here on the screen. All right, so once we are here, make sure that your camera is at 25. This is a recommendation from 3D Scan Store. And I usually go to unlit, so you can see the whole face. Now we promote the frame, click OK. And then we do the trackers, and let's see where the trackers are placed. I think they are placed correctly. Somewhat, there's a little bit here that is missed. So let's just fix it real quick. All right, just to show you that the process is pretty good. Sometimes it's not perfect recognizing the angles and you have to give it a little bit of help. This is one of those rare cases where I had to move the trackers myself. I usually don't, so this is like, it depends. Now, once you've done that, you click on Metahuman Identity Solve. This actually runs pretty quick, much faster than it used to when we had the Metahuman Creator online. And I think it's done. Yes, it is done. So you can see how it created the Metahuman right here. And it looks very, very one-to-one. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to, whoops, yeah, it does that now. We're going to click on auto reg metahuman identity, so it creates the DNA and all that good stuff, because we're going to actually be using Metahuman Creator. And it tells you that skeletal mesh with the metahuman DNA is now available. You click OK, make sure you save this, and we get out of this. Now, what we need to do is right click, go here, metahuman character. Call it the same, M24, Metahuman Creator. You double click it so it loads. And here you got your usual Metahuman Creator. Nothing has changed. The difference is we are going to be using conform for the head. So you go to conform and you go from identity. Now, there is a little bit of a thing here with these checkboxes. So the one that says used eye meshes, it's going to be using the eye meshes from the identity, and it's going to place the eyes in the same place. When I was doing the female character, I had a problem where, I don't know why, it placed the eyes kind of like behind the sockets and it looked very weird. So I had to untick this before I do it. Let's just do it with this checked and see what happens. And this is how it looks. That was actually pretty quick. Let's see how the eyes are doing. I think they are where they're supposed to be. So in this case, we leave it on. But like I said, there may be an instance, because it has happened to me, where if your eyes are not placed correctly, like they're way behind the eye sockets, then you just untick this and Metahuman Creator will solve it with the correct eye location. So we already conformed. It looks great. Now, the other issue usually with this is the material. So if we go to materials, you're going to see that it adds the average metahuman textures to it. We're not going to focus so much on the body right now, although let's give it a kind of like more masculine body. Let's go with Bruce. There you go. I think he is the masculine option for the metahumans right now. Let's go back to the face. And I think it actually fits this head pretty cool. So if we go back to material, as I said, this is applying the metahuman material, which is fine if you want to go that route. But the purpose of using this is so we use the textures that are provided with 3D Scan Store. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go all the way down here. And you see that there's something called texture override, and you just click on enable override. For face, we're not going to use body. You click 3 times. So one is going to be base color, the other is going to be normal, and the third one is going to be cavity. So we're going to drop each one where it should be. And there it is. We have all the, and of course there's going to be a discrepancy between the body and the face. This is so you get the face, not the body. However, you can always go into the material part and go up here and try to match the skin tone to what you have over here, so we can lighten them up. And it's a little bit closer to what we have on our head. So somewhere around here. I'm just gonna leave it there. And again, this is so you get a metahuman that you're probably gonna be clothing, you're gonna be adding armor to it. If you're going to have one that is without a shirt or with like underwear and stuff, there are some other ways that I'll let you know how I do it, where I go with the full body and head. This is just so you have a kind of like a different head and just you're using armor and all that. So we're going to leave it at that, and we're going to go into, let's give it some hair and some eyelashes and all that good stuff. All right, I think the eye colors is fine. And if you want to change everything else, just do it on your own. Now we're going to create the rig. It actually went faster than I thought. Yeah, Metahuman Creator has really improved lately. And if you want to see your, let's do idle face. Let's play it. And let's do face range motion if you want to see how your metahuman looks. Things looks pretty good. So the next step, this is the part where things are going to look weird. If you download the textures, which you need if you're going to assemble your metahuman, there's something that's going to happen to the face. So let's download the textures. I'm going to download the 2K for now. I always recommend you either download 4K or 8K if you're doing cinematic stuff. And this is what's going to happen. So if you see this, don't worry. It's part of the process. We're just going to go here, make sure it's UA scenic complete. Everything else, I'll leave it as default. And we go to assemble. Okay, once the assembly process is done, your metahuman should be in whatever folder you decide. Mine here is in the metahuman folder. So let's double click and you can see, you know, this is the insanity that is happening with the hair right now. Supposedly they're fixing it. Matt Workman gave a solution, which I think is pretty cool. You just go into hair, go into the binding asset, look for it. Just double click the binding asset, then look for the skeletal mesh. And for some reason now you have to manually add it as source. I don't know why, but that seems to be the solution. Save it, and you see that the hair goes back to where it should. I'm going to do the same thing for the fuzz, eyelashes, and eyebrow. And everything is good. The other thing is I'm going to change the sync to LD0, compile and save. All right, and our character is still looking a little bit weird. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw in the character here inside of the level area. What we're going to do is we're going to be changing the face textures. Now, the explanation as to why does that happen is because the new facial textures are virtual textures and the ones that we brought in are not. So it didn't pick them up. One of the things that I've done while I was testing this is I've converted these textures to virtual textures before I did the process, and it turned out pretty weird. Like, it turned out into a mix in between the metahuman textures and this, which is not ideal. So what I do is I always convert them to virtual textures after the fact. So we're just going to right click and convert to virtual textures, and you just click OK. And you can see there's the VT logo right there. Same thing with the normals. Convert to virtual texture. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to throw this one in to the head albedo. And we're going to throw in this to the normal. And everything will be fine and dandy. We click this. And as you can see, he is looking good. Again, the purpose of this is so you use it with clothes. I'm going to do another video where you do the whole body and the texture will not have this kind of issue. But in my opinion, those are very specific cases where you want your character to be shown without clothes, which is not the, I would say the 80% of times that you're seeing characters in video games. You usually see them with some kind of armor or clothes. But if we go back to, you can see here, let's just give him some light. Now you can see how well this metahuman looks without all the metahuman-y look that I keep seeing on video games. You can see that that process was very quick. Again, it took me a little bit longer in this video because I'm explaining, but I usually do it in 5 minutes plus whatever the computer takes processing this thing. But I am very, very pleased with the results that we get now with the Mesh Metahuman and Metahuman Creator. It used to be that when you were doing it this way, the metahuman that you would get with this scan will still look very metahuman-y because it wasn't conforming the underlying geometry that well. I think the current Metahuman Creator does it a lot better. So when it does the conform thing, you can see that it looks pretty cool. You can see it from the character that I was doing earlier. One of the things that you may need to do is try to match the eyebrows to the one that are already in the textures, or you can just go and erase the eyebrows from the textures. That's something that you can do really easy in Photoshop or in your photo editing program of choice. And yep, that's it. That's the process. Again, if there's something else you would like to know about this process, let me know in the comment sections down below. What questions do you have about this process? If you want to see that video of Metahuman Animator, also let me know. I'm going to be diving more into my personal projects very soon. Thank you so much for watching all the way to this point. Remember to like and subscribe because it goes a long way to helping out the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.